Example number 1. Use a number line to help determine the sum of each of the following expressions. So, in the first question, the way that I would have a number line help me out is I would put down my 0, and I would plot out my 6.4 because that's my first number, 6.4. And I'm going to be, let's remind ourselves here, a positive and a negative results in a negative. So if I were to rewrite this, 6.4 minus 3.8. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract, but not quite all the way to 6.4. Or sorry, not all the way to 0. So I'm subtracting less than 6.4. So I know that my answer is positive. Now, I can either just leave it, or I can put a plus sign here, whatever we want. And I can either do this in my head, but if I wanted to use my calculator, which you're welcome to do, 6.4 minus 3.8 equals 2.6. In this scenario, I'm seeing that there is a positive and a negative again, so I'm going to change that just to a negative, and I'm going to rewrite it. So negative 2.3 minus 4.9. So let's see if this question is going to be positive or negative. So I start out at negative 2.3, and I'm going to subtract 4.9. That means it's getting more negative. So that means that my final answer is going to be negative. So I could do this in a couple of ways. I know that it's negative, and what I would do is I would say 2.3 plus 4.9 equals, and I know that my answer is negative, so it's going to be negative 7.2. Or what I can literally do is I can start out by saying 2.3 and make sure that I have my negative sign there. So for this computer one, it's right here. On your calculator, it could look different. You can come and grab one of us when you see us next to help you out if you're finding it difficult to find your negative. And then subtract 4.9 equals negative 7.2. Last but not least, we have more fractions, but we're noticing here that the denominators are not common. Dun, dun, dun! So we need to make them common. First things first, though, let's get rid of this double signage here. We have a plus and a minus, so that will result in a negative. So I'm just going to rewrite it so it doesn't confuse us. 3 over 4 minus 1 over 2. The common denominator between 2 and 4 is just going to be 4. So I don't have to do anything to this fraction, but I can multiply this denominator by 2. Therefore, I need to multiply the numerator by 2. So I'm going to just rewrite 3 over 4 minus 1 times 2 is 2 over 2 times 2 is 4. Now we take a peek. Oh yeah, this is great. We have a common denominator. So then I go 3 minus 2. It's going to be 1 over 4. I'm going to move on to example number 2. Example number 2, evaluate. So first things first, we have 5 over 8 plus 11 over 2. We can do a little happy dance of joy here because the 11 over 2 is already in an improper form, which is what we want to use when we're adding and subtracting. So I notice that the denominators here are 8 and 2. The lowest common denominator between 8 and 2 is, you guessed it, is 8. So I don't need to do anything to this first fraction, 5 over 8, done. But I want to multiply this by 4 and this by 4 because I multiplied the denominator by 4. So plus 44 over 8. 5 plus 44 is just going to be 49 over 8. And to get this into a mixed number, I'm going to say that it is 6 and 1/8. If you need more practice converting from improper fractions to mixed numbers, just let one of us know, or you can search it yourself on Math IXL. This one right here, So we have 2. This one is the most difficult actually out of this problem set. We have 2 signs again, a positive and a negative, which we're going to turn into negative because a negative times a positive is negative. I'm just going to rewrite it as it is. 2 3/4, and instead of writing those 2 operations, I'm just going to write the resulting one, minus 5 7/12. So first things first, I want to convert to improper. For certain, we want to convert to improper because there is a subtraction. Sometimes you can get away with it with addition, that you can add the 2 big numbers and then deal with the fractions later. But with subtraction, it's always best to change to improper first. If you want to ask me why, ask me why in class. So let's change this to improper here. We have 2 times 4, which is 8, plus 3 is 11 over 4, minus 5 times 12, which is 60, plus 7 is 67 over 12. My lowest common denominator here is going to be 12. So I'm going to multiply this guy by 3 and this guy by 3. And we don't have to do actually anything to here, which is great. So we're going to say 33 over 12 minus 67 over 12. So I'm looking at this right here, and 33 minus 67. Ew. So 33, which is the positive number, is smaller than the 67, which is being subtracted. So I know that my answer is going to be negative, so I'm just going to set that up. But let's see how negative. 33 minus 67 equals negative 34. So negative 34 over 12. So I want to convert this into a mixed fraction. So I know that the number is negative, so I'm going to take that out in front. So the way that I do this is I say, how many times does 12 go into 34? Well, it goes twice. 34 divided by 12 equals, so the big number out in front is going to be my 2. What's left over is 10, because 2 times 12 is 24. 34 minus 24 is just 10 over 12. I want to get this into a mixed fraction, but I also want to make sure that it's in lowest terms. So it's going to be negative 2 5/6. I'm going to put a box around it because I like my teacher.